I never thought much about death, until it happened to me. One moment, I was in my body, living life like any other day. The next, I was floating above, staring at my lifeless form. Panic gripped me, but then something incredible happened. A tunnel of light opened before me, and I was drawn into a realm beyond human understanding. I had no idea that what awaited me would change everything. I saw things no man should ever see, things so beautiful they filled me with awe, and things so terrifying they shook me to my core. And then, I stood face to face with Jesus Christ himself. He didn't just welcome me. He revealed truths so profound, so earth-shattering, that I knew I had to return to tell the world. What I saw in heaven and hell was beyond imagination. But the message he gave me, about life, eternity, and what's coming, will shake you to your very soul. I was sent back for a reason. And now, I must share what I learned, before it's too late. The day started like any other. I woke up, stretched, and went about my morning routine, completely unaware that within hours, I would experience something that would change everything I believed about life and death. There were no ominous signs, no eerie premonitions, just the normal hum of existence, the same as it had always been. Yet, in a single instant, everything changed. I remember the moment my body failed me. It was as if the world itself had betrayed me. The air suddenly felt heavy, pressing down on my chest like an unseen force. My vision blurred, my hearing dulled, and an overwhelming wave of weakness spread through my limbs. I tried to speak, to call for help, but my voice never escaped my lips. Instead, I felt myself sinking into an abyss of silence, a space where time lost all meaning. Then it happened. At first, I didn't even realize what was going on. One moment, I was struggling, trapped in the failing vessel of my own body. The next, I was looking down at myself. I saw my lifeless form slumped over, the eyes half open, the face eerily still. It was the most unsettling thing I had ever witnessed, myself, but not me. A strange sense of detachment overcame me. It wasn't fear, nor was it sadness. It was something far more surreal. I should have felt terrified, yet I didn't. Instead, there was an odd clarity, as if I had been stripped of all earthly distractions and was now seeing reality for the first time. My thoughts were sharp, more defined than ever before. The weight of my body was gone. I felt free, yet undeniably present. I tried to move, and to my surprise, I did, effortlessly. There was no strain, no resistance. I was floating, or perhaps gliding, above the room. I turned, expecting to see my surroundings as they had always been, yet they seemed different. The colors were more vivid, the sounds more distant, as though I were experiencing them through a veil. As I hovered above my body, I noticed something odd. There was a pulsing energy, a faint glow emanating from me. It was not light in the way we understand it, but something more alive, more profound. I realized that I was not bound by the limitations of the physical world anymore. The laws of gravity, matter, and even time seemed irrelevant. Then, a sudden shift. I became aware of a presence, something powerful, beyond comprehension. It was not just around me, it was within me, filling every fiber of my being. I could not see it, yet I knew it was there, watching, waiting. A warmth spread through me, but it was unlike any warmth I had ever known. It wasn't merely physical, it was something deeper, something that resonated with the very core of my existence. That's when I heard it, a whisper, yet it was louder than any sound I had ever heard. It wasn't coming from the room or the world around me, it was resonating within me. It spoke without words, yet I understood perfectly. It was calling me, drawing me toward something beyond the visible. As I drifted further from my body, a faint pull beckoned me toward what I could only describe as a tunnel. It was not like the dark tunnels of the earth, but something entirely different. It was vast, endless, shimmering with an ethereal glow. I felt no fear, only an irresistible urge to move forward. The moment I entered, everything changed. I was no longer aware of the world I had left behind. The room, my lifeless body, the people around me, they all faded into insignificance. The tunnel wasn't just a passage, it was alive. It pulsed with energy, with purpose. The deeper I went, the more I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced on earth. No anxiety, no doubt, no pain, just a profound stillness that wrapped around me like a comforting embrace. Yet, there was something else, something far more intense. It was love, not the fleeting, conditional love we experience in life, but a love so vast, so absolute, that it was impossible to describe. It wasn't just surrounding me, it was filling me, saturating every part of my being. I knew, without a doubt, that I was in the presence of something divine. As I moved deeper into this space, time became meaningless. I could not tell whether seconds or centuries had passed. All I knew was that I was going somewhere, being drawn towards something beyond comprehension. Then, in an instant, I became aware of countless others. They were not people in the way I had known them, yet I knew they were souls, beings of light, filled with the same divine presence that now enveloped me. They radiated an unearthly beauty, their forms luminous and fluid. Some seemed to be moving toward the same destination as I was, while others lingered, as if waiting. I realized something profound in that moment. I was not alone. None of us ever are. A sudden shift occurred. The tunnel expanded, opening into something far greater. Before me stretched a vast expanse, limitless and majestic. It was not a physical place, yet it was more real than anything I had ever known. Colors I had never seen, sounds I had never heard, all woven into a harmony beyond earthly comprehension. And then, just as I was beginning to grasp the immensity of it all, I felt another presence, one far greater than anything I had encountered thus far. It was not just near me, it was everywhere, infinite and eternal. I could not see it yet, but I knew. I knew who was waiting for me. The journey continued, and as I moved forward, the sense of time and space as I had always known it dissolved into something completely unfamiliar. There was no gravity, no sense of direction, and yet I was being pulled forward by an unseen force. I felt no fear, only an overwhelming curiosity and an indescribable peace that settled deep within my being. The world I had known was now a distant memory, fading like a dream that slips from the mind upon waking. Shapes, colors, and lights swirled around me, but they were unlike anything on earth. The hues were richer, more alive, pulsating with energy, as if they carried meaning beyond mere appearance. I could feel their essence, as though colors themselves were speaking to me, resonating with emotions I didn't even know I had. Sounds, too, were different. There was no noise in the way I had experienced it in life, yet there was harmony all around me. It was as if the universe itself was singing, a celestial symphony that moved in perfect unison with the flow of existence. As I drifted deeper into this realm, I became aware of figures appearing in the distance. At first, they were faint, like flickering shadows just beyond my vision, but as I drew closer, they became clearer. They were not human in the way I had understood humanity, yet there was something familiar about them. They radiated light, not harsh or blinding, but soft, warm, and full of an energy I could only describe as love. They did not walk or move as I had in life. Instead, they glided effortlessly, their presence more felt than seen. The closer I got, the more I understood that these beings were not strangers. I did not recognize their faces, yet I knew them. They exuded a deep familiarity, a connection beyond memory, as though I had always known them but had simply forgotten. They were welcoming, not with words, but with an unspoken language of the soul. Among them, I felt a sudden awareness of my own existence in a way I never had before. It was as if every part of me, every thought, every experience, every hidden corner of my heart, was laid bare. There were no secrets here, no masks to wear. I was fully known, completely exposed, yet I felt no shame, no fear of judgment. Instead, there was an overwhelming sense of acceptance, as if I was finally where I was meant to be. One of the beings moved closer, and as they did, something incredible happened. Without speaking, without even trying to communicate in the way I had in life, I understood them perfectly. Their thoughts became my thoughts, their emotions became my emotions. It was a connection beyond words, a communion of souls. I was being guided, not with hands or force, but with intention. The presence of this being was both reassuring and humbling, as though they had been waiting for me, knowing I would arrive at this moment. There was no sense of urgency, no rush, only a gentle leading forward, deeper into the vastness of this new existence. The further I traveled, the more I became aware of an even greater presence, one that overshadowed everything else. It was everywhere, within me, around me, beyond me, yet intimately close. It was not merely an entity or a force, it was the very essence of life itself. It carried a weight, not of burden, but of significance, an authority so absolute that I felt my entire being respond to it. With each passing moment, my understanding expanded. It was as if the limits of my human mind had been removed, allowing me to perceive truths that had always been beyond my grasp. Concepts that had once seemed complex or mysterious now became clear, unfolding in my consciousness like the pages of a long-lost book. I understood that this place, this journey, was not random. It had purpose, intention. Everything in this realm was alive in a way that the physical world never was. Even the air, or whatever substance filled this space, carried consciousness, a divine awareness that connected all things. There was no separation, no division, only unity, a perfect harmony that wove everything together in an intricate design. I saw landscapes, not made of dirt or rock, but of something far greater. Rolling expanses of light, flowing fields of energy that shimmered with hues beyond description. There were structures, not built with hands, but formed by will, by purpose. They stood with an elegance that defied earthly architecture, crafted from what seemed to be pure essence, radiating beauty that touched the very depths of my soul. The presence that guided me seemed to be leading me toward something beyond all of this. I felt a growing anticipation, a deep sense that I was approaching a revelation, a truth so profound that it would change everything. The beings around me remained close, their presence reassuring, yet they did not interfere. They knew this was my journey, my experience, and I had to see it through. A golden glow appeared in the distance, unlike anything I had seen before. It was not merely light, it was life, pure and undefiled. It pulsated with a rhythm that resonated deep within me, calling me forward. I felt as if every fiber of my being was being drawn toward it, as though it held the answers to questions I had never even thought to ask. As I moved closer, I realized that this light was not just an object or a place, it was a presence, a being. It was familiar, yet unfathomable, both infinitely vast and intimately near. I could not look away, nor did I want to. It was the very source of everything, the origin of all life, all love, all existence. The moment I came fully into its presence, I knew. The presence before me was overwhelming. It was not just light, not just an energy, it was alive, aware, and so powerful that I felt like I would dissolve just by being near it. Yet, at the same time, there was a love so immense, so consuming, that I could barely comprehend it. It was not the love I had known on earth, not the fleeting affection or conditional care that humans offer one another. This was something eternal, unbreakable, limitless. It penetrated every part of my soul, filling even the hidden places within me that I had long forgotten. I could not move, yet I was not paralyzed. I did not feel fear, yet I understood in an instant that I was standing before the most holy, most righteous, most powerful being in all existence. Every part of me trembled under the sheer weight of his presence. Though I had not yet seen his face, I knew beyond any doubt, this was Jesus. His presence carried an authority unlike anything I had ever known. It was not the authority of a king ruling over subjects, nor of a judge passing sentence. It was something far greater, the authority of truth itself, of existence itself. He did not command power, he was power. Every fiber of my being recognized him, not because I had been taught about him in life, but because my soul had always known him, even when my mind had forgotten. Then, he spoke. It was not a voice in the way I had known voices. It did not come through my ears, but through every part of me. It was as though his words were not merely spoken but woven into the very essence of my being. They carried weight, not just in sound, but in reality itself. When he spoke, it was not just words, it was truth being revealed, existence shifting, creation responding. I was not prepared for what he showed me. In an instant, my entire life unfolded before me. Not just memories, not just events, but the reality of who I had been. Every thought, every action, every intention of my heart was laid bare before me, and I saw myself as he saw me. There was no hiding, no justification, no excuses. It was not just a review of my life, it was a revelation of my soul. I saw the moments when I had loved others, when I had shown kindness, when I had acted in sincerity. But I also saw every selfish act, every hidden thought, every time I had chosen myself over others, every opportunity I had ignored to do what was right. I saw the words I had spoken that had hurt people, the choices I had made that had led others astray. I saw the truth of my heart, not as I had convinced myself it was, but as it truly was. I felt the weight of it, the depth of my own shortcomings, but there was no condemnation in his eyes. There was only truth. In that moment, I understood that it was never about punishment, it was about reality. This was the truth of who I had been, and truth could not be argued with. It simply was. Then, he showed me something more. He pulled back the veil, and I saw the unseen forces that had been at work in my life. I saw the spiritual battles I had never known were happening, the moments when darkness had sought to pull me away, the times when unseen hands had guided me back toward the light. I saw the prayers of others that had shielded me, the choices I had made that had rippled through eternity. Nothing had been insignificant. Every action, every word, every moment had been part of a larger story, a story I had never realized I was living. I saw the people I had impacted, both for good and for bad. I saw the moments when a simple word of encouragement had changed someone's path, and I saw the times when my indifference had caused pain I never knew about. I saw the depth of connection between all souls, how nothing existed in isolation. Every choice had mattered, every decision had shaped something beyond what I had seen. He then revealed to me the true nature of love, not the weak, fragile love that fades with time, but a love that was the very foundation of existence. It was not just something he felt, it was what he was. Every law, every truth, every action of his was rooted in this love, a love so pure and consuming that it was impossible to resist. I understood, for the first time, that love was not an emotion, it was a force, a reality, a living presence that held all things together. He let me feel it, this love that surpasses all understanding. It filled every part of me, touching wounds I didn't even know I had, healing places I had long forgotten were broken. I had always thought I knew what love was, but I had only ever seen a shadow of it. This was the source, the origin, the essence of love itself. Then, he showed me something even greater, the plan. Not just for my life, but for all of existence. I saw how every soul was part of something infinitely larger, how every story was woven together into a grand design that stretched beyond time itself. I saw the depths of his wisdom, the perfection of his justice, the magnitude of his mercy. I saw how nothing was wasted, how even the pain and suffering of the world were being transformed into something beyond comprehension. I understood, in that moment, that nothing had ever been out of his control. The chaos of the world, the brokenness of humanity, the suffering and injustice, it had all seemed so meaningless before. But now, I saw how every thread was being woven into something perfect, something that only he could see in its entirety. Every sorrow, every joy, every loss, every triumph, they were all part of a masterpiece beyond my ability to grasp. I realized that he had never been far away. Not in the darkest moments, not in the times when I had doubted, not even in the moments when I had turned away from him. He had always been there, watching, waiting, guiding in ways I had never seen. I had never been abandoned, never been forgotten. The weight of this truth was almost too much to bear. To know that I had been loved so deeply, so completely, even in my worst moments, it was more than I could understand. The presence before me, the light that surrounded me, the voice that spoke with such authority and yet such tenderness, it was undeniable. He was not just a figure of history, not just a teacher or a prophet. He was exactly who he had always claimed to be. The vision before me shifted, and suddenly, I was no longer standing in the presence of Jesus. Instead, I was being taken somewhere else, moving at an incomprehensible speed. There was no sense of distance, yet I knew I was traveling beyond anything I had ever known. The colors around me changed, deepened, darkened. The peace and warmth that had filled me moments ago began to fade, replaced by something heavy, something dense. It was not fear that gripped me, but a deep, unshakable sorrow, as if the very air around me was saturated with despair. Before I could process what was happening, I arrived at a place unlike any other. The very ground beneath me felt unnatural, as if it was alive but filled with torment. It was dry, cracked, and void of any life, yet it pulsed with something dark, something malevolent. The air was thick, oppressive, filled with a stench that burned my senses. The sky, if it could even be called that, was not like anything I had seen before. It was vast, endless, but not open. It was suffocating, covered in swirling shadows and a deep, blood-red glow that cast everything in an eerie, unnatural light. Then I heard them, the screams. They were not just cries of pain, not just wails of suffering. They were filled with regret, filled with the agony of realization. They were layered upon one another, countless voices crying out, pleading, but there was no answer. The weight of hopelessness here was so thick it pressed into my very soul. There was no comfort, no reprieve, only the endless, unrelenting torment of knowing that whatever this place was, it was final. I turned and saw figures moving in the distance. At first, they looked like shadows, writhing and shifting, but as I moved closer, I realized they were souls, people. Their forms were distorted, their features twisted in expressions of anguish that no words could describe. They reached out, but not toward me, toward something unseen, something they longed for but would never reach. Some were crying out names, others were clawing at the ground, as if trying to escape, but there was no escape. I felt their emotions as if they were my own. The realization of their fate, the unrelenting knowledge that they had chosen to be here, not by some arbitrary sentence, but by the decisions they had made in life. They had rejected love, rejected truth, rejected the very presence of the one who had created them. And now, they existed in a place void of him, void of everything that was good. I saw creatures moving among them, beings unlike anything I had ever imagined. They were not human, yet there was something eerily familiar about them. They exuded pure hatred, not just for these souls, but for all of creation. Their forms shifted, sometimes appearing almost human, sometimes monstrous beyond comprehension. They tormented, not with weapons or fire, but with whispers, with words that cut deeper than any blade. They spoke lies, yet here, in this place, those lies became reality. Every fear, every regret, every sin played on an endless loop, trapping these souls in their own worst nightmares. I wanted to turn away, to leave, but I was not in control. I was meant to see this, to understand this. The reality of hell was not just suffering, it was the complete and utter absence of God. And in that absence, there was no hope, no joy, no second chances. There was only the echo of what could have been, the unending torment of knowing that the chance for redemption had been freely given and freely rejected. Then, as suddenly as I had arrived, I was pulled away. The scene around me faded, the cries grew distant, and I was lifted into light once more. The shift was so immediate, so stark, that it took a moment for me to realize where I was now. The air here was different, crisp, pure, filled with a fragrance that was both familiar and foreign. The ground beneath me was soft, like the feeling of stepping onto a cloud, yet it was firm, alive. I looked up, and before me stretched a landscape beyond imagination. It was not like Earth, though it had elements of familiarity, fields, rivers, mountains, but they were unlike anything I had ever seen. The colors here were more than colors, they had depth, dimension, life. The sky was endless, a brilliant hue that shimmered as if it were woven with light itself. The air hummed with something, music, yet it was not just sound. It was woven into everything, a song that resonated in my very soul. It was not just being heard, it was being felt, experienced. It carried peace, joy, a sense of belonging so strong that it brought tears to my eyes. Then, I saw them, people, countless people, yet they were not as they had been in life. They were radiant, their forms glowing with a light that came from within. There was no pain in their eyes, no sorrow, only a joy so pure it was impossible to describe. They moved effortlessly, some walking along the shores of crystal clear waters, others embracing in reunions that spoke of long separations finally mended. I felt a presence beside me, and as I turned, I saw Jesus once more. His eyes held a depth of love that I could not comprehend, yet there was also a seriousness there. He was showing me both realities, the place of separation and the place of union, the consequences of choice, the eternal destiny that awaited every soul. He did not speak, yet I understood. Heaven was not merely a place, it was home. It was where we were always meant to be. Every longing, every ache that had ever existed in the human heart was because we were created for this, for Him. Nothing was missing here, nothing was broken. Every soul here was complete, whole, fully alive in a way that was impossible on earth. I felt a rush of emotions as I took it all in. The laughter of children, the embrace of loved ones who had been separated by death, the overwhelming presence of love that flowed through every part of this place. There was no sickness here, no aging, no fear. Every face shone with the glory of the one who had made them. They had been redeemed, restored. I looked at my own hands and saw the same light shining from within me. It was not a light of my own making, but his light, the reflection of his love. And I understood in that moment what it truly meant to belong, to be known, to be loved beyond all measure. A rush of warmth surrounded me, pulling me into a moment of stillness, as if time had momentarily paused. My mind swirled with everything I had seen, everything I had felt. The depths of despair and the heights of glory, the cries of the lost and the songs of the redeemed, the hopelessness of separation and the completeness of union. It was as if the fabric of eternity had been stretched before me, revealing the two ultimate destinations, the only two realities beyond this temporary life. My heart ached with the weight of it all, the knowledge that every soul who had ever lived would find themselves in one place or the other. There was no middle ground, no neutral territory. I turned toward him again, the one who had walked with me through it all. His presence radiated an authority that could not be challenged, and yet, at the same time, his love was overwhelming, filling every part of me, every corner of my soul that had ever been wounded, empty, or lost. His eyes held depths that seemed to contain all knowledge, all wisdom, and yet there was something deeply personal in the way he looked at me, as if I alone mattered in this moment. Then, without words, he made it clear, I was not to stay. A sudden wave of emotion surged through me. The idea of leaving this place, of returning to the broken, fragile world I had come from, felt unbearable. I wanted to stay in the warmth of his presence, to remain where love was not merely a feeling but a reality that permeated everything. I wanted to live in this realm where peace was not a fleeting moment but an eternal state, where every question found its answer, where I would never again know pain or sorrow or doubt. But as I stood there, a truth settled into my spirit. I had been shown all of this for a reason. This was not merely a journey for my own understanding. This was a mission. I had been brought here not just to witness, but to return and to tell. The weight of this realization pressed down on me, not as a burden, but as a responsibility, a divine calling placed upon my soul. My mind filled with images of the world I had left behind, the people I had known, the moments I had wasted, the opportunities I had let slip through my fingers. I saw the faces of those who had no idea what awaited them, who lived in ignorance of the spiritual war raging around them. Some believed they had all the time in the world, others rejected the truth outright, and still others walked through life numb, unaware that every choice, every moment, was shaping their eternal destiny. Then, Jesus revealed something more. He allowed me to see my own life, not just as I had lived it, but as he had seen it. Every word I had spoken, every action I had taken, and, most sobering of all, every time I had remained silent when I should have spoken. The moments when I had been too afraid to share the truth. Too wrapped up in my own concerns to reach out to someone in need. The people I had encountered who had been searching for answers, who had been waiting for someone, anyone, to tell them about the love of God, and I had walked away, distracted by things that now seemed utterly meaningless. It was as if my life had been a book, and Jesus was flipping through the pages, showing me where I had chosen well and where I had failed. But there was no condemnation in his eyes, only sorrow for the lost moments, the lost souls. He wasn't angry. He was grieving for those who had never heard the truth because I had been too hesitant to share it. He had given me opportunities, and some I had taken, but many I had let pass by, never realizing how much was at stake. And then he showed me the future. Not in the way that I had expected, not in a clear, detailed vision, but in glimpses, in feelings, in an overwhelming understanding that my time was not yet done. I was not being sent back to resume life as I had lived it before. Everything had changed. I had seen too much, felt too much, known too much to ever return to the way things were. My life, from this moment forward, would no longer be my own. He showed me people, faces I recognized and some I did not. I saw family members, friends, strangers I had yet to meet. Some were lost, wandering without direction, their souls crying out for something more, even if they did not realize it. Others were on the brink, One step away from eternity, one moment away from making a choice that would decide their forever. I understood in an instant that my words, my testimony, could be the very thing that turned them toward the truth. And then he showed me something else: resistance. There would be those who would not believe. Those who would mock, dismiss, reject, even hate what I had to say. Some would accuse me of lying, others would call me foolish, and some would even despise me for the message I carried. But it would not matter. The truth remained the truth, whether people accepted it or not. My responsibility was not to convince, not to argue, but simply to tell. To plant the seeds, to be faithful with what I had been given. He placed something within me in that moment, a fire that could not be quenched, a conviction that could not be shaken. The urgency of what I had seen, of what I now knew, burned within me. Every soul mattered, every moment counted, every breath was a gift, another chance for someone to turn, to open their eyes, to see what I had seen before it was too late. I felt his presence grow even closer, surrounding me, holding me in a way that words could never describe. And then, I knew. It was time. My journey in this place had come to an end, but my mission was just beginning. The knowledge of what I had seen would remain with me forever, the weight of it pressing on my heart, guiding my steps, shaping every decision I would make from this moment forward. I did not know how I would return, what it would feel like, what awaited me on the other side. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty: I could not stay. There was too much to do. Too many who needed to hear. Too many lives at stake. The love I had experienced, the truth I had witnessed, the reality I now understood, it was no longer mine to keep. It was meant to be shared. It had to be shared.